Hi everybody, Mr. G here. When we are doing things with strings in Java, we were saying earlier strings is this idea of like text that's written out but inside of these double quotes, like this is right here. The backslash character. So backslash is the one that hides above the enter key on your keyboard. It's the least often used slash key, so it's a slash that is leaning to the left. We refer to this as an escape character. So whenever you use a backslash within a string, within these double quotes, it actually won't just be treated like any other character. So here we would expect it to print good slash bad. It actually will create a function out of it. And we'll notice if I were to open Notes Escape 1 that this slash b has a slightly different color than the rest of it. This is the escape character at work here. And so the question is, what exactly is it doing? So if we run this program right now, if I click run, I expect it to print backslash can be good slash bad. It actually printed backslash can be gooad, Gooad. So it prints GOO and it prints AD. So what happened there? Because the slash b, right, it's missing this, it wasn't actually printed out. And what happened to the D from good? It's like all three of these characters just disappeared when we hit the run button. The escape character utilizes the immediate next character after it as an instruction for what to do. So when we have a backslash, it looks at the next character, it looks at this B, and it takes that as an instruction. And B with the escape character is short for backspace. So I was mentioning earlier that it's like the computer is typing this out. It really is typing this out. So when it tries to print the string, it will print out, and I kind of have a working example here. It'll be writing backslash can be good. It starts typing the O, the second O. It types out the D. But after D, right, good, we have slash B, which is code for backspace. So after it types out the D, it actually effectively hits the backspace key and gets rid of it. And now it is after the slash B, and it can finish, it can finish typing our word. It can type the AD that we have here. So it did, even though we could never have seen it, it did type good. It finished and typed that D, but it then interpreted our next steps as a backspace to get rid of the D, and then continue on with our word and write the AD from bad. And realistically, computers just work so fast that it happens instantly to us. It's like the D was never there, but the computer did actually write it, delete it, and then continue, even though we couldn't really see it. So let's talk about what are the combinations that we'll typically use with this backslash key, because this was like an accidental example. We didn't mean to backspace here, but how do we use it intentionally? And there's four in particular that we will actually be using in this course, and you need to know. Number one is a double backslash. This seems kind of odd, but if we actually want to type out a backslash, if we want the computer to actually type it out, it needs to have one before it. So a backslash says it's actually okay to print a backslash here, and it'll only print one. So even though there's two here, it will only print one. We have backslash n. N is code here for new line, which is equivalent to hitting an enter key. So this is kind of like what the print line does for us. After it types, it almost does a slash n. It hits enter. Backslash t is a tab space. So for us, that's typically 4 spaces, but it'll move text over a whole bunch. And then slash quote, double quote. Because we actually realize here, if I wanted to put a quote in the text in Java, I'd be stuck because a double quote is supposed to only be on the outside of a string literal. So a slash quote allows us to actually write a quote out. And I have an example here of each of these. So I have a print line, and I fixed what we did earlier. So the fix is that we need double backslash for it to force it to only print one. Down here we can see it now prints it correctly. It only prints one backslash. Here I have a regular print, and I said I can put a new line here, and then I said slash n, so it should hit enter. On a new line, it'll say, and don't need print line. And then it does another one. So this should have two effects. It should print, I can put a new line here. We can see that here. It'll hit enter. It'll write and don't need print line like this. And the next thing to be printed, so the next third line here, should be moved down again because of this extra enter key we hit. So we look at the third line, it's a print line. I can say one thing here and then move the other over, and it says /t there. So it should say, I can say one thing here and move the other over, and then there's a gap here, a large space, right? That's what a tab does when you hit tab in a document. It creates a large space, and then it continues typing. And that's nice because we didn't have to write out all the spaces in our program here. We just had to write /t. And if I wanted to do an even bigger space, I could just write /t/t, do two of them. And then finally, Mr. G once said, and it's as if I'm quoting myself, right? So I actually want it to print the quotes out. I need to do \quote mark and then \quote at the end. In this way, it actually prints out those double quotes instead of treating them as the beginning and end of the string for us. And notice the end here looks kind of weird. We have double quote. But this /double quote is consumed and actually will print out a quote itself. And then this one pairs with our beginning to highlight the beginning and end of our string. So escape characters give us some flexibility. We can do things that we couldn't do otherwise. We could do things more easily than we can do otherwise. And they offer us a lot of versatility to make printing, or in general working with text, much more interesting. So they're a really, really great tool. And they're one that will take time to get comfortable with. But once we do get comfortable with them, are going to be invaluable as we keep working in Java. That's the last of the main content here. But we're going to have one more section where we talk about some final notes about the things you might have noticed in some of the Java files that we've been using.